Right. So, what I firstly want to talk about is a movie I recently watched with my family called Extraction. You may have heard of this. It's a recently released Netflix movie with Chris Hemsworth. It's an action movie. I didn't really know much about it, except it was made or produced by Netflix, starred Chris Hemsworth, and had somehow involved the Russo brothers, who are known for directing Marvel movies, including the amazing Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. This movie, I found out, was written by one of the Russo brothers and is closer to Captain America Winter Soldier than anything else they've done. So, without spoilers, Extraction is about a former Black Ops operative soldier named Tyler, played by Chris Hemsworth, who is now a mercenary hired to rescue or extract a hostage who is an Indian drug lord's son um, that has been kidnapped and is in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And he's been kidnapped by another drug lord, um, I believe referred to as the Bengali Pablo Escobar. So, right off the bat, this movie being set in Bangladesh is great because that's where my parents are from. I was born in the UK, but I have visited Bangladesh quite a number of times. And although this movie depicts the dark side of the country with gangs, drugs, and violence, it's still very rare to have a Hollywood movie set in Bangladesh. I think this might be the first movie that I've seen, um, a Hollywood movie that is in Bangladesh, and it's especially interesting because it has Chris Hemsworth as the lead as well. Now, it depicts Bangladesh pretty well in the sense that, at the end of the day, it is a poor third world country, so you get to see that. But you also get to see a dark side, which I, to be honest, didn't really know much about, and it may or may not be real, or it probably does exist, but it's probably very dramatized for the sake of this movie. But seeing the dark side, the drugs, the violence, the gangs. So overall, I really did like this movie. It's a great popcorn movie full of great action sequences and that are well choreographed. There are lots of tracking shots that follow the characters for a long period of time in the streets and in buildings, which continues the momentum of the scene. I think this movie is more gritty and violent. It's like a gritty and more violent version of Winter Soldier, not because of the story, as the story in this movie is pretty simple and straightforward to follow, but mostly in the way it's shot and the frantic and visceral action sequences, which make it a fun film to watch. I have to say, Chris Hemsworth acted really well in the movie as a soldier who has a troubled past and some trauma he is trying to deal with. The Bengali cast, which includes the boy who he's rescuing, some gang members who are kids, um, and as well as the Bengali Pablo Escobar. Overall, they did pretty well with the acting, despite there being some cheesy dialogue, especially delivered by the boy hostage, which is kind of expected, to be honest, with this type of movie. I do have to say the Bengali Pablo Escobar guy didn't seem very threatening to me, but that may be because I know Bengali, and it might just be that the Bengali language just doesn't sound threatening to me. For example, I've watched Narcos, and the actor playing Pablo Escobar, there are scenes where Pablo Escobar himself, the way he looks, he doesn't really look very, very threatening. He's just a fat, Colombian guy. And there are scenes where he's wearing like a very lame jumper. But when he speaks in Spanish, when he's threatening someone over the phone or in person, he sounds very menacing and threatening, which doesn't really sound that way to me when the Bengali guy spoke. But as I said, this might be because of me knowing the Bengali language and not having seen other gritty Bengali dramas with more realistic villains. So yeah, to any non-Bengali speakers, this guy may sound menacing. He does do some things to establish that, yeah, he is the leader. He is the leader of a drug gang, and he does have the government in his pockets. So he does establish that quite early into the film. Anyway, overall, this was a fun movie. It's got a simple to follow plot, which makes it an easy watch, and it has just lots of great action sequences, a lot of frantic scenes that, build the momentum and the hype. And I recommend it to anyone who enjoys watching, these sorts of popcorn films, especially if you're watching it with friends and family. Yeah, it's a great watch.